Have you studied a language, and I mean really in good faith studied a language, maybe with blood, grammar, and tears, only to find that when you're in conversation or watching a TV show or listening to a podcast, the language rushes by, and what you do know is outshined by everything that you don't know? Well, there's a concept backed by data abbreviated as TFIDF that sheds light on why this happens, and in this video we'll go through 3 ways, backed by data, for how this concept can help you find your footing with your language learning. And after 3 years of learning German, I've applied this concept to more than 2 million words across YouTube videos and podcasts to help me maximize my learning. What if there was a way to tell you what words are important in a conversation, a video, or a book without needing to know what the words actually mean? Well, computers do this all the time, and the good news is that you can too, just by looking at the words that are used, even if you don't understand them. Clearly, not all words carry the same amount of meaning, but this is made more complicated because a word can be critical in one sentence and not another. Your first instinct might be to look at all the words that come up most often and then remove a set of the most common words in any language called stop words. This list still won't tell us what's most important in a specific conversation, video, or book because the most common words show up most often in most conversations. But if we look at more than one conversation or video at a time, we see that context is king, and let's try something else. What we're looking for is the sweet spot of words that show up often in specific conversations, but not all conversations. See the end of this video for a full technical explanation, but by applying a weighting factor to each word called a term frequency inverse document frequency calculation gets us exactly what we need. Here's the Easy German Podcast as an example. Each episode of the Easy German Podcast focuses on a variety of topics, but does have one core conversation portion. Let's pick the episode Das Deutsche Gesundheitssystem, which focuses on healthcare in Germany. Even though the most common words in this episode are und, ich, und das, they're not tagged as the most important words in this episode because they also show up in every other podcast episode. Instead, the words with the highest TF-IDF score make a lot of sense given the topic. It's words like Arzt and Krankenversicherung. And digging deeper into this specific example shows why certain topics and conversations are so challenging. If you're beginning to get comfortable in your target language and you're at an A2 or a B1 level, that means your vocabulary is probably somewhere in the 1,000 to 3,000 word range. But of the keywords for this healthcare episode, 40% of them are not in the top 1,000 most common words in German, and a few of them aren't even in the top 10,000. Assuming that your vocabulary roughly grows in line with the most common words in a language, that means that there's a huge gap between what you currently know and can understand with grammar versus how typical language is. Across all the Easy German episodes and German content in general, and yes, this applies to other languages, around half of the most important words that carry the most meaning in a conversation aren't in the top 1,000. Your brain can infer the meaning of words in lots of scenarios, but this is just another piece of evidence showing the immense undertaking of learning a language. And one resource that might be able to help you with this immense undertaking is Lingopie, a streaming platform designed for language learners. I'm glad to partner with them again specifically for this video because number 1, they have content that's amazing, and number 2, their interactive transcripts are available before, during, and after you're immersing. Not only can you choose what languages you want to include in the interactive subtitles, but these subtitles are responsive and non-obtrusive. This means more natural content watching where you can look up a word and then immediately get back to immersing with minimal interruptions. With one-click note cards, you can seamlessly link up your workflow for studying and immersing, which highlights the fact that the platform walks the line between the two beautifully. Lingopie currently has 9 languages supported within the platform itself, and the platform extends even further with its Netflix integration, giving you an even bigger playing field to immerse with Lingopie's powerful tools. If pairing engaging content and language learning helps improve your skills, and if you want to support a company enabling language learning resources like this channel, Lingopie has a 7-day free trial and is offering 70% off of their lifetime plan. Links are in the description down below, and a big thank you to Lingopie for partnering on this video. Now, here's how to apply this TF-IDF concept. Yes, it can be very daunting that almost half of important words aren't common. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that you can unlock new realms of your target language with specialized vocabulary. But you can just follow your curiosity, pick what type of content you want to watch, or base this off of your daily needs. Pick a new domain that you want to explore each week and learn 50 words. You could start with a blog post or a Wikipedia article on a topic that you're interested in and just find words from there. If you live in a country where your target language is spoken, learn vocabulary before going to a doctor's visit or going to a government office. If you love baking and cooking, learn your favorite dishes and ingredients and utensils and measuring systems. If you don't know the difference between roasting and grilling in your target language, learn it. And if you don't know the difference between teaspoon and a tablespoon, open up a dictionary. Yeah, this is specialized vocabulary, but this is going to make you more engaged with your target language and something that you already love. Use keyword lists before listening and watching. Whether you're studying in the formal sense or just immersing with your target language, building your vocabulary is about exposure and then reinforcement. If there's something that you're going to watch or that you need to talk about, you can review keyword lists ahead of time. Or you can just use keyword lists for inspiration for how to grow. This isn't sponsored, but if you become a patron of Easy German or some of the other Easy Languages channels, they have episode-specific vocab lists which you can peruse before or during your watching and listening. I'm pretty sure you get access to these materials for hundreds of episodes, even if you're just a patron for a month, so think about it. If focusing on vocabulary isn't interesting or a priority for you, find ways to speak and write even on topics where you're not familiar. When you get up to a word you're not sure how to say in your target language, fight the urge to say it in your native language and find some creative way of saying it in your target language with the words that you do know. In this case, you're looking at words that drive your conversational or writing skills rather than focusing on a few thousand words that will just expand your vocabulary. As an addendum, here's the full detailed process for how you calculate the TFIDF across a bunch of TV episodes, books, or articles. Step number 1, gather up a collection of TV show episodes, videos, podcasts, book chapters, and conversations, etc. We'll call each one of these things a document. And for the sake of this example, let's say that we have 100 documents. Step number 2, we tally up all the words across all 100 documents. And step number 3, for each individual word, we'll calculate how many documents each word shows up in. That'll give us a number between 1 and 100. Words that show up a lot like the and are will have a higher number, likely very close to 100, and the more uncommon words will have a smaller number. We'll call this number the DF for document frequency, and every single word has a document frequency. Now, step 4, we want to calculate the inverse document frequency, also called the IDF. To get the score for each word, apply a tiny bit of math by taking the logarithm of the total number of episodes divided by the document frequency for that word. This IDF score is the opposite of what we saw before, where more common words have lower scores and the uncommon words have higher scores. Using the logarithm here instead of a fraction means that very rare words won't have crazy high scores. And step number 5 is to bring these scores into a specific document. So we look at a specific conversation or episode of a show. For each word in that specific episode, count up the number of times that that word shows up and multiply that by the IDF score that we got before for all of the documents. And that gives us one final score for each word in each document. When we look at and rank the final scores for the words in each of these documents, we're being given the most important words for each episode or for each transcript or each book chapter. What we have are the words mentioned with a specific topic, but they don't come up so often that they're mentioned all the time. Boom. Now we have our list of keywords for every show, podcast, or book. That's what I've got for this one. Please consider subscribing if you enjoy this type of content, and I'll see you in the next one.